Hi everybody, this is Herb NZ0F and welcome back to Ham 101. In this episode, we'll talk about 3 steps that you can take to help you get connected into the hobby. The first thing to remember is that ham radio is a hobby that is done in community. It's not something that really you do by yourself. Even though you may sit in your shack and talk to people by yourself, you're talking to other people. And the more you know about how that works and who's out there and what their interests are and things like that, the more enjoyment you can get out of the hobby. The second step, of course, is getting some equipment so that you can actually get on the air, and there's a lot of things to consider in that regard. And the third step, basic step, is to get on the air. Obviously, if you're not using your license privileges, you're not getting much out of the hobby. So we hope these 3 steps will help you. So let's take them one at a time. First is to connect, recognizing that ham radio is a community hobby and it's a hobby done with other people. You have to get connected. Now, there are several ways you can do that. One of the ones that I recommend most highly is to join some kind of a club or organization. Ham radio clubs are all over the place. There are general purpose clubs that just cover a wide variety of topics. There are specific clubs that are specific to a particular topic in ham radio and are fairly narrow in their scope. There are emergency communications organizations that serve people like Salvation Army and Red Cross, or county organizations and things like that. There are a lot of them out there. Sometimes it's hard to find out who they are, when they meet, that sort of thing. But look for a local resource that you can find that will help you find a club and get involved in it. The important thing is to get involved. The important thing is to go out there, meet other hams, find people that share the same kind of interest in the hobby that you do, and find people that you can rely on for advice and to help you along in your hobby. One of the things that I tell people about clubs is to remember that they have a personality. Clubs have a personality just like you have a personality. You wouldn't expect to become immediate friends with everybody that you meet on the street because their personality doesn't meet your personality and doesn't fit with you. Clubs are the same way. I hear a lot of people that go out to a club meeting and they say, well, I went in there and I stood in the back and nobody said anything to me, nobody said hi, and I just didn't feel like I belonged. Well, 2 things wrong with that. One is that you need to put forth some effort also. Make sure that if you go to a club meeting, you introduce yourself to a few people. Once you break that ice, then you'll find other people that want to talk to you. And most clubs are very welcoming of new members. They just don't always know who the new member is that walks in. And so, again, we're kind of a bunch of nerds and geeks, and so we don't socialize well, and so we don't have people that just welcome you with open arms sometimes. Sometimes you have to break the ice first. So that's the first thing. And the second thing is recognize that at some point that club may just not have the right personality for you. It may be more of a social club and you're looking for more technical activities, or it may be more technically oriented and you're looking for more of a social activity. Just recognize that different clubs have different personalities, and if you don't connect with one right away, go find another club and try that. And again, find a local source of information about when these clubs are and when they meet. Websites can be out of date, websites can have incorrect information. So don't be discouraged if the first 2 or 3 times you try to go to a club meeting, you're either at the wrong place or the wrong time, or something else happens. Don't get discouraged, persevere, because joining a club and organization is one of the ways that you can get a lot of information and a lot of enjoyment out of the hobby, and it will help you also discover a lot of the other parts of the hobby that you may not be aware of. You'll find people that are involved in other parts of the hobby that you may not even know existed, and the more you find out about the hobby, the more you recognize that this is a vast hobby and there's a lot of things to be done and a lot of things that can be done. The second part of getting connected is to find a good local source of information. We're very lucky in the Kansas City metro area to have a thing called Larry's List. Larry, W0AIB, runs an email reflector. He's been running it for years. And 2,000 or 3,000 hams in the Kansas City area subscribe to that. And so activities that are being held by local clubs, equipment that's being bought and sold, other things of interest to the ham community are published on that email reflector. And Larry repeats that stuff out on email. And so that's a good way, by subscribing to that email reflector, that's a good way that Kansas City metro area hams find out about what's going on in the Kansas City area and around the surrounding area. Look for something like that, whether it be a Facebook page or whether it be a Twitter feed or whatever other social media platform that may be available in your area that is a good source of local information. Because like I said, websites are often out of date and may be incorrect, and the latest information is most likely going to be available through some social media platform. The third part of connecting that I want to talk about is the ARRL, the American Radio Relay League. There's a lot of controversy sometimes about whether the ARRL membership is worth it or not. But for new hams or hams that are trying to get involved in the hobby for the first time, I would recommend joining it for 1 year. It's $49. You get a lot of benefits from that. Primarily, you get the magazine, the QST magazine. One of the things that I found as a new ham when I first got started was that while there is a huge amount of information out there on the internet through forums and message boards and things like that, it's very difficult to sort your way through what is good information and what is bad information. The one thing that QST magazine does and ARRL magazine does for you, and ARRL does for you as an organization, is it gives you a good authoritative source for information. And as a new ham, that's vitally important. You don't want to waste a lot of time getting discouraged going down a path that is leading you in the wrong direction. So first thing is, don't always listen to everybody and assume that they're right, and do some of your own research, but recognize that you need to find a good authoritative source of information. ARRL is worth that $49 investment, at least for 1 year, to give you the opportunity to get to that magazine and to get to the database of information that the ARRL has on their website. In addition to that, it gives you discounts and deals on books and other periodicals. It gives you access to insurance for equipment. There's a lot of benefits that ARRL offers, and whether or not you continue be a member over the years or not, it's up to you. But I recommend at least that first year you join ARRL and get QST, and if nothing else, look at the ads, because it's kind of like looking at the Christmas book when you were a kid. The second step that we want you to take, obviously, is to get some equipment. You need to get on the air. The easiest way for a new ham to get on the air is to use local 2-meter and 440 megahertz repeaters. To do that, you either need a mobile radio or a handheld radio that will at least get you on 2 meters. A lot of people sweat and agonize over that first buy, the time you go out there and you spend money on that first piece of equipment. My advice to you is don't agonize over that. And the reason I say that is twofold. One is that if you're going to stay busy in this hobby, you're going to have more than one radio. So the more radios that you buy and the more equipment you buy down the road, the less important that first purchase becomes. So the important thing is to get something within your budget and get on the air. That's the most important thing right off the bat. Beyond that, you may realize that your needs change and you may find other things and other ways you want to get involved in the hobby, so you may want different equipment. That brings us to the second part of that, and that is that, generally speaking, the market for used equipment in the ham world is fairly strong. So if you buy something today and decide you want something different tomorrow, chances are really good that you'll be able to sell that and get at least part of your money back, and that will help you fund the next purchase. That, again, is why you should get involved with the club or find other sources of information locally, so that you can either post that sale online, or you can sell it to somebody else in the club that you belong to or something like that. But the main thing is go out and get something that will get you on one of the local repeaters. And there's a whole section coming up later in the Ham 101 series about getting on a repeater and getting on a net and what those are and what those can offer you in a way of kind of lowering the bar to help you get on the air and actually push that button and start talking. That's the important thing, is don't worry about what it is, whether it's a handheld or a mobile, whether it's 2-meter or 440, whatever. Just get something that will get you on the air locally so that you can start talking to people. And that leads us to the third step, and that is to get on the air, to use that equipment to actually get on the air and start talking to somebody on the radio. That's what ham radio is all about, is interacting with other people using the technology that's available to us. So that's the 3 steps we're talking about. First, get connected to other people in the hobby. This is a social hobby. It is a hobby that is done with others. And the sooner you can start rubbing shoulders with other hams and start learning from them and let them encourage you and let them answer questions for you, the sooner you're going to be able to get enjoyment out of the hobby. The second thing is to go out and get some equipment. And as I said, don't sweat that decision. Just go do it. Look at what your budget is. buy something to get you on the air. And the third thing, of course, is get on the air, and we'll have more information on how you can do that and some of the ways to accomplish that goal later in the series. So that's it for this episode of Ham 101. Until next time, this is Herb NZ0F 73.